a playlist original.
All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Back to the Blockbuster with your hosts, Gaius and Jackson, doing another anniversary episode, a horror movie anniversary episode in the summer because Dimension Films was like, let's release this particular movie in the summer of 1998. So that's better than October, I guess.
So weird.
It's really weird. But before we get into the movie and everything, I just wanted to introduce some guests that wanted to talk about this particular film with us. Every time we were teasing this episode, I told Jackson we cannot do late 90s teen movie horror or teen films without Mark J. Parker. So he is back again to
happy to have you back,
movie.
Mark.
What's up, Mark?
Hi guys. I know you're talking about my prime years here, late 90s slashers. This is my subgenre is late 90s Dimension films. So I'm happy to be here.
Nice. And then another guest we have, I put this out on TikTok asking if anyone wanted to join us for this episode, and Wes sent a message to us on Back to Blockbuster saying that he wanted to join, and the timing worked out. So thank you, Wes, for joining us as well.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
Not a problem. So we have a fan in Wes. I am also a fan of the movie, even though this was talking about Halloween H20. This was the first time I've actually watched it post 2018 Halloween trilogy. So I was watching it in a very different light this time, comparing it to see like, oh, was this a better reexamination of Laurie Strode and her trauma all these years later, or was that 2018 and then subsequent sequels a better examination of her trauma all those years later? So I definitely watched it in a different light this time around. And Jackson, I don't know if you had seen it before. Had you seen it before?
Nope. This was the first time watch for myself.
Oh my gosh.
I know, right? Yeah. There are only so many out there, my man. It's hard to get them all
But Jackson also, I remember when we were talking about Can't Hardly Wait, I forget, were you alive when this came out?
He wasn't.
Yeah,
this came out.
Well, I was like a couple months old, right? Because this came out August or July 1998.
August.
I'm June 98, so I'm right there. just made the cut.
God.
Definitely not watching though. But yeah.
Oh man. So to throw it out there, the film we were talking about today, as we mentioned, is Halloween H20 or Halloween H20 20 years later, however you want to call it. Directed by Steve Minrer and starring Jamie Lee Curtis, LL Cool J, Adam Arkin, Michelle Williams, Janet Leigh, and Josh Hartnett. I guess I'll throw in Adam Hann-Bryd. He has a pretty decent partner in this too. This sequel finds them ignoring all the sequels after Halloween 2 and just focusing on those first two films and Laurie Strode's story. And it has her kind of in hiding as the head mistress of this looks like elite private school. Her name is, and she's changed her name to Carrie Tate to escape her said monster. And of course, 20 years after the 1978 incident, said monster has come back to haunt her once again. This was a big deal when it came out in 1988 because this was like two worlds colliding. It was the late 90s like teen horror movie boom that kind of reignited with Scream, and then of course for Halloween fans this was like a big deal because we got some pretty dismal sequels. I'm not gonna count Halloween 4 because I fucks with Halloween 4, but Halloween 5 and 6 are pretty bad.
I kind of like 6, I have to be honest. Maybe because that was the first one I think I actually saw. I can't remember if I saw 1 or 6 first, but I saw them all out of order as a kid. But I kind of have a soft spot for 6.
Nostalgia
that scared
points.
Me a lot. Maybe it's nostalgia. I know it's messy because it's part of that weird cult storyline, which felt really weird. But I don't know, 6. I don't know. I at least am okay with that. I need to watch the director's cut someday.
It's a better version of Dreadful, if that makes sense. If that makes sense. It's like it's a little better than what we got. For sure. But yeah, I mean, this was, we always ask people when they first, with the exception of Jackson, who just watched it today for the first time. Wes, this is your first time on. When did you first see the movie and kind of what did you think of it when you first saw it?
So I was first going through like my whole, like diving into the genre of horror films, like maybe like, honestly, it was probably the summer of 2013 was probably when I first saw all of the Halloween movies. And so that
nice.
includes this one. And I loved this one, Halloween H2O. When I first saw it, I thought it was a really great ending. I also appreciated that it kind of retconned the bad sequels out of the mix, because those were a mess. But yeah, I really enjoyed H2O. I thought it was a really good send off for Laurie Strode, and I think it does examine her trauma in a way. Now looking back at it after the 2018 one, I think it's more satisfying because she is running away and dealing with it in like a really unhealthy way, but there is still like a lot of personal growth that has happened in that time between Halloween 2 and H2O, and it's just really cool to see where she is at now. And I think I appreciated that better than her being like a hermit in the woods, survivalist. I mean, and that's really cool too. It was cool to see, but the H2O just hits that spot nowadays. I think even more so after the Gordon Green series.
Nice. And Mark, I know you're probably, I guess, similar to me. Did you see this in theaters?
Yeah, I did. I saw it in theaters with my mom, and I was in 5th grade. I would think I was going into 6th grade. I was like 11, and I just remember it's so funny because I was rewatching the movie earlier today. I love the opening. I'm sure we'll talk about it, but when we first see Michael in the hallway in the back, I just remember like, oh, I was so excited and I was so scared. And I just remember covering my mouth and saying, oh shit, in the movie theater. My mom was like, you have to be quiet. You have to stop. Because I think she was very nervous about like bringing a little kid into a horror movie.
To a horror movie.
But, oh yeah, I'm pretty sure. I don't know if it was opening weekend, but we definitely went to the theater. Oh yeah, and I loved it.
How was this movie received when it came out? Was it popular in theaters? Did it do well? Was it panned? Like, give us a little bit of perspective of what it was like.
It did well.
Yeah?
It did well, but
well.
You might have seen this too, guys. It was never number one, which is funny because now these movies are so big. This was not like so. It made its money back. Obviously, it made sequels, so it was successful, right?
Yeah.
But it was surprisingly, it came in at like number 3 or 4. I think it's because of that weird August release date.
It's a weird August. It's weird August release date, and when they opened August 5th, it's funny, Jackson, because we talked about this with Ninja Turtles and Dead Reckoning. It opened on a Wednesday, so it had that weird kind of midweek opening. But at the time it came out, it was the highest grossing of the Halloween movies at the time it was released, and depending on who you asked, it could have done well because it was bringing her back, Jamie Lee Curtis back. It might have also been a combination of these kind of movies were big again when Halloween H2O came out. This is post like Scream 2. I Know You Did Last Summer, so it was it kind of rode that wave. Reviews wise, it was mixed. It was like in the middle, but it wasn't really made for critics. It was made for fans. And I think I think at the time fans really thought this was the best one since the original when it came out. I think that has changed for a lot of fans since. I mean, some especially with time, but at the when it came out, I know me and my friends thought it was the best one since the first one. At least the closest to coming to touching it at the time. I saw it in theaters. Me and my friend did that thing where we had to ask an older person to buy our ticket because we were too young to go in. And this is when you could trust people to hey, can we go watch this movie with you? Here's our money. And that actually worked out. But me and my friends loved it when we saw it back then. I've softened on it since, even watching it for this. I enjoyed. There were things that I really enjoyed, and there were isolated moments I thought were great. But we'll probably talk about those later. But at the time, I thought it was the best Halloween sequel of the bunch at the time. And but it was. I guess it certainly wasn't hard to top a lot of the Halloween sequels at that point. But it was like first. I did like 2. I mean, I actually grown to like. Yeah, I've grown to like 2 a lot more in, as I've gotten older, like appreciating things about it. And also, if you watch 1 and 2 back to back, it's a double-edged sword because you get like, oh, this doesn't feel as good as the first one, but it does feel like one cohesive story. So at least like when you're watching 1 and 2 back to back, and like Rick Rosenthal did his best to capture that vibe of what John Carpenter was doing in the first movie.
Definitely,
so.
I think so. And there's a
Steve
Minrer
tries
and everything.
Yeah, of course, yeah. And Steve Minrer tries to do that a little bit with H2O. He's a director on this one. He also directed Friday the 13th Part 2 and 3, which are my 2 favorite Friday the 13th sequels. So there's that. He also has a Dawson's Creek connection because he was directing episodes of Dawson's Creek at the time, so he knew Michelle Williams already, so he was already familiar.
That explains
with her.
It.
Oh yeah.
I was surprised to see her out of nowhere.
Jackson's like, why is she in this?
There were a lot of faces I was not expecting to see in this movie, and hers was probably one of the ones that shocked me the most, but great for her little early role for
people
her.
forget that she was like kind of the female, obviously Jamie Lee Curtis is the female lead, but like the number 2 female lead is Michelle Williams, right? But Steve Miner's the director of this one, right? Yeah, Steve Miner. He has a cameo talking to Michelle Williams. When we meet Michelle Williams, he's like the bursar giving her bad news about like your dad didn't pay the bill or whatever. So right,
He's
and
like,
so
you're
she's
poor.
like,
You're poor.
But I'm pretty sure, that's him.
Neat.
Yeah, that is him.
I love
you
when
can't go to
insert
Yosemite
themselves a little bit in their movie. I always like to look for that, but I would have had no idea who Steve Miner was, so I did not catch that. But that's neat.
All right,
nice
Jackson,
catch.
for our first time watch, how was it for you?
I was like dreading kind of getting to this point because I don't want to be the bubble burster, but I gotta say for a lot of the movie, I wasn't really buying in, but I'll kind of explain why I think that. There was a lot of things that like I didn't set myself up for to fully enjoy this movie. One being I'm just not in spooky season, like Halloween mode. I feel like this watch in August is just so antithetical to the Halloween series. Like I would have much rather watching this like early to mid like October, but I also have not seen Halloween 2. I'm a Halloween fan, but as a series, I can't say I'm a true fan. There's many I haven't seen. So I love Carpenter's original, and I also felt like this one lacked a lot of the like magic that he brought to that original. It just by nature of it being from a different director, really noticed that lacking, I guess, this time around.
So did you know that they were siblings? Because that's revealed in 2.
Yes, I have no. Because even though I haven't seen 2, I'm familiar with a lot of aspects.
Oh, that was like
2 is like
yes.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
Certainly.
Jackson's like brother, huh?
there were. I will say though, the end, even though I'm still kind of conflicted about what I think of the last scene, it redeemed a lot of what I had seen throughout the movie. Because although I wasn't really that engaged throughout it, that final 2 minutes I thought was much better than the 83 that had come before. Save for the opening. I thought the opening was great. Justice for Joseph Gordon-Levitt. He did not deserve that skate. I would have loved to have seen that happen, but I get why that might not have been popular to show, especially at the time. But there were just overall, like my thoughts were like there were some foundational aspects of like the character of Michael and the staples of this series that I couldn't get over. For instance, like his mask. I do not like his mask in this. I knew that we'd get into that.
Yeah, well, it changes like 3 times.
Yeah, which I didn't
really
pick
bad.
up until the end. I was like, his eyes were
CGI in the one scene, right? Yeah,
yeah. There's one CGI moment with it. Yeah.
Oh, really? I didn't.
It's when the kid pulls his hand out of the garbage disposal and like he turns and sees him there. That whole mask is CG. Yeah, because there's a lot of apparently the mask thing was a huge. Well, I'll try to go through it quick. So, and the opening scene, which is actually great. I actually think the opening scene is really good. Like the opening scene feels like it feels very like Halloween 78-esque.
Yes.
Yeah, as close as it can get. And I love the opening with the
way
Mr.
to bring her back, right? With the nurse.
Nancy Stevens who plays Mary.
Sandman, yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Mr. Sandman. Because gotta get you back into that kind of world because Mr. Sandman it opens Halloween 2, and that's like it's like a cool little like callback to that. But I guess the opening scene is the only scene that they use. The mask from Halloween 6 is used in the opening scene, and that was the mask that Steve Miner actually liked, and he was like, okay. And then the higher ups at Dimension, like the Weinsteins, did not like it, and they were like, get something else made. And so, but Steve Miner, I guess, is still fighting with like, hey, like, I like this one. And they're like, no. And then I guess Steve Miner was like, dude, like, well, fire me. Like, he was really like upset that they weren't going to use his mask.
On the mask.
And so then they got this like K&B mask, which you can kind of see a few times. It's the like really white one with like, you can't see his eyes. It's in a few shots of the movie. Yep. It doesn't look great. And then they had Stan Winston's people come in and make the one that you see throughout most of the movie.
That's Stan Winston's
and it's
work.
Well, his people. I don't know if it's like him.
Well, still, I don't think they did him justice.
I don't know if it's
I
him
wish
at
I
all.
didn't hear that. I'm gonna pretend I didn't hear that. But
I think I heard long ago, and it makes a lot of sense. This is sort of like the drag version of Michael Myers because the mask is just so like, I don't.
Like,
it's just like
stretched
something's.
out.
You're right. Yeah.
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 Yeah. I have to say
Wes,
the
what's
worst
your-
mask
Yeah,
is the
go.
fifth one. I
That's-
think the fifth
The worst is
movie.
the
I
fifth?
hate.
Oh,
I
it's
hate
pretty
that
bad.
one.
whew,
That one's bad.
It's
Yeah.
pretty bad. It's pretty bad.
Yeah.
Actually, anything like
It's like-
4, 5, 6 H2O all have really. It's a varying degrees of like really awful.
why mess with
Halloween,
perfection?
Michael Myers
The first
mask.
is great, and I gotta say that's what I do love about 2018 is they made the mask look badass. So props to David.
Yeah,
Gordon
as
for that.
close as they could. To, yeah.
Yeah. Don't know why they fucked with the mask,
Oh.
but
Right.
What's your thoughts on the whole mask debacle? And do you think any of the three look good in this movie?
I think all the masks kind of look. They definitely all look off in the movie. But the cell shading weird CGI bit is the one that always sticks in my head the most.
I don't know how I missed
because
that.
that is the most glaring. It's so
It's so
ugly.
bad, man.
It is really bad. But I think the moment where Laurie Strode and Michael Myers face off, that one moment through the window,
In the window.
like
That
even
was
though the
dope.
mask is off, the scene is so good that I'm not even thinking
Love
about
that.
That
it.
you care,
I
yeah.
agree with that. That was
Right.
a great reunion scene for sure.
Now, I
Yes.
know
Yeah.
Jackson was a baby, but any of us who saw like the trailer, the commercials, was I the only one? Okay, keep in mind I was like 11, but seeing it being called H2O, H20, and then the circular like window that they look at each other, I thought, oh my God, this is underwater. No joke. I definitely thought
Underwater.
this was taking Michael underwater. I'm like, oh my God, they're on a cruise. And
That's
I
what I
so
thought. I
into
thought it was
it.
going to be on a cruise. I did
That
too.
is
Yeah,
awesome.
getting into it, I thought it was Michael Myers on a cruise.
Yes, because I remember I knew about Jason Takes Manhattan, so I was like, oh, okay,
yes.
that's a cruise. I don't think I saw that movie yet at that age, but I knew that existed, so I'm like, oh, this is their take on that. Sign me
Exactly,
up.
yeah.
Luckily, we
I
did
can
not
see
get
these
that.
connections being made.
Right?
I don't blame
But
you.
that,
for that.
that
my
circular
giant-
window, I was like, oh my God, he's outside
Yeah.
the ship. Yeah.
I respect your I respect your alternate version of what this movie what this movie could
Oh
have
yeah.
been.
Fan of it.
Amazing.
By the way, the trailer for this movie, if you ever have a chance to check it out, is much better than. I mean, the movie's fine, but the trailer is really good, and you get a lot of Halloween music. You don't really get a lot of Halloween music in this movie, and that's another
I know.
bone of
Where was it? Like, there was
potential.
glimpses, but I was like, I want
It's
that
a-
score, man.
Yeah.
So this
like
is like this is
off-screen
problem.
Mm-hmm.
This is like problem number 2. Like I think it's like the worst problem after the mask problem is
Yeah.
John Ottman did the score, and I guess John Ottman came up with these like big kind of like full orchestra, his kind of take on the Halloween music, and they actually have it on one of the DVDs. You can hear it. It's not that it's bad. It just doesn't. It's really big and doesn't fit like what they were trying to do.
It's a very
so
like
they said that
operatic,
Steve.
right?
It's very
Like,
operatic. Yeah, it's very
over the top.
operatic.
But
yeah,
I
Because the
actually
thing-
kind of like it. I'm not gonna lie. I actually like kind
No,
of.
it's not. It's not bad.
And it feels very Scream because I think Marco Beltrami also worked on this a bit.
He came
right?
in last. He came back. He came last minute
Okay.
to fix because they were. So they're cutting the movie and they're listening to John Ottman's score and they're like, Patrick Lussier, who's the editor, was like, this isn't working. Like the music is fine, but it's not right for this. So he got Marco Beltrami to come in. I guess like it did 5 days of work to basically insert Scream music. That's basically what it was. I mean,
Totally.
it's a lot of the scenes. You really hear hints of John Ottman's score throughout the movie, and then you of course you hear it during the opening. That is his take on the Halloween theme.
I do love
during
that
whole
opening, guys. I gotta say,
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
credits
it's
with
pretty
all
high.
the
It's good.
and like how it's like there's a little like fluttering, like almost like a flute
Yes.
or something. I
Oh,
have to
yes.
say, it works for me. It's like a
so
little
good.
like devilish. Although now rewatching it at like years later, it does feel like maybe the most family friendly Michael Myers, like with that
Agreed.
score and the way it looks. But I'm still into it. So
It has like a John Williams magical-esque
Yep.
to it.
Mhm.
That I guess would bring in
It's
the
fair.
family-friendly vibes.
It's kind of whimsical, like parts of
Yeah.
it. Like it and like if you hear the majority of his score, which isn't bad isolated by itself, but like
Right.
they play it over certain scenes that it was supposed to play over on the Blu-ray, and it was like it wouldn't work, but it is good pieces of music. I just feel bad for him because they were like, hey, like some of your scores in there, but a lot of it didn't work, and we had to salvage what we could salvage. But that, I mean, that's what makes it feel even more like it has the Scream DNA, because it has that music as well, on top of the fact that you can tell that it wants to be a Halloween movie, but it also wants to kind of latch on to the kind of late 90s teen slasher craze. And that's watching it now, I feel like it's kind of hard for it to be both.
Very
it
much
doesn't really quite
trying to wear too many hats.
But yeah. And that was I'm always conflicted. Like when I watch it now, I was like, oh, there's some good stuff in here that feels Halloween, and I love all that stuff. I love Scream, and I Know You Last Summer and all that, but it doesn't feel entirely right for this. But at the time, in 1998, I thought it was great. I was like, oh yeah, this is like the best of both worlds. But as a fully formed adult, it feels a little wrong. Doesn't it feel? Quite right.
I love that we get a little glimpse of Scream on the TV there in that scene where the girls are preparing for what's his character's name? The guy who plays the guidance counselor is coming in, and it's on the TV. That was a cool little nod. Love that.
Although, can we talk about that briefly? Because I love it too. I love how we hear "Do you want to die tonight, Cece?" and also the WB connection between Sarah Michelle Gellar and Michelle Williams at the time.
Michelle Williams,
But here's the kind of crazy thing that my brain does. So Scream is supposed to be like the real world. So when they are watching Halloween and Scream, it's like us, like real people who love Halloween. But I totally get it. I'm just being a nerd, but it doesn't really make sense though for in the Halloween world. Now they're watching Scream, where it's like, well, wait, Scream is supposed to be like real life, and in real life we were watching Halloween. So But it
hadn't occurred to me. But you're right.
I know I'm being a wet blanket. I still love it, and I think it's a fun little Weinstein. Like, hey, well, in that hit, they showed Halloween, and this hit we're going to show Scream. So I love it, but I'm just like, well, technically, like now we're in some weird time vortex, but I still love it. So there you go.
Another weird meta moment too is Chris Duran, who plays Michael Myers in this. He actually was Ghostface in that scene with Sarah Michelle Gellar. So that is another weird, another weird,
crazy.
Kind of like crazy
I love that.
connection. But yeah, I mean, of course, that was just thrown in so they could be like, oh, the kids could be like, oh, I just saw that movie. It's like one of those.
And did you guys notice? I never noticed it until this rewatch. I believe in that great scene where I love when Jamie Lee Curtis says to Adam Hann-Bryd, "Here, go get in the car," and then she turns around to her son. She says, "What the fuck?" I love when she yells at her son.
Was awesome.
But the Josh Hartnett even says, I'm pretty sure he says, "What are you waiting for, huh?" I'm pretty sure I heard it. So that's like my little Kevin Williamson loving brain that they like put a little nod to "I Know What You Did Last Summer" in the script. I just have to shout that out. I had never caught that before.
I love the way Mark thinks. I feel like he thinks like me.
Because I'm hearing, Kevin Williamson did like lots of work on this, but uncredited, right?
Yeah,
I mean, he's an executive producer, but he definitely worked on the script, and you can feel that DNA. But like, it's funny because in that same scene, you can hear like words like existence, and I'm like, oh my god, that's such a Kevin Williamson word. Like we can't go on in this existence. I'm like, oh my god. And then there's like leak, and I remember like in Scream, they're like stupidity leak, and I'm like, and then all of a sudden I hear, what do you wait or what's he waiting for, huh? Or something, and I was like, oh my god. Thank you, Kevin Williamson. Anyway.
Amazing.
Nice little pickups.
That's
Here's something that I caught that I want to know if anybody had noticed. I'm sure I would be surprised, but I noticed another familiar horror character in that opening scene. There's a Cenobite from Hellraiser on the porch in that opening scene.
Oh, really? I did not see that.
Yes, it's
I did not see that.
I think it's the one that's called Butterball. It's like the bald, like big gelatinous looking
one.
It's just chilling on the porch as a prop. I'm like, that's a Cenobite for sure. Go back and look. It's there.
And do you know why? Back at this time, Dimension, the Weinsteins owned Hellraiser.
Hellraiser.
There you go. Yeah. Makes sense. So they're giving lots of shout outs to their other material, which I appreciate.
Yeah, it really shows you how the Weinsteins had their hand in some big franchises in the late 90s. It was kind of actually crazy because I don't know if any studios own that many franchises now that are like of that level. I know by this time Hellraiser was not really, it was more like direct to video and DVD, but still, they had the rights to a lot of stuff.
I need a little history lesson here because they went on to own Miramax. Does Dimension Films kind of become Miramax, or did they just buy that out? What happens there? The Weinsteins.
They had both of them at the same time.
They had both at the same time? Oh, okay.
Yeah, Dimension was like for all their like their genre like releases.
Horror stuff?
So any of like the horror stuff, and
I see.
and they got the rights to Hellraiser and Halloween, and they released Curse of Michael Myers, and that was a dud. And they released Hellraiser Bloodline, which was like Pinhead in space, and that was a dud.
No way.
And yeah. I mean, well, and the thing is, like with Halloween H2O, like there are a lot of different people that had ideas. Like everyone's working on like what would be the 7th movie. On the Dimension side, they were going to do something that was going to be straight to video. On the Jamie Lee Curtis side, though, she was like, "Hey, like it's coming up on 20 years since we did that first one. Like she kind of want to get the gang all back together." So she had like a meeting with Deborah Hill and John Carpenter that sounded promising, but then there's a lot of speculation about why John Carpenter didn't direct it. She really wanted him to, but he ultimately decided not to do it. It probably was money. I mean, usually it's money with him.
I was going to say, do we know why? Because I never heard why. We don't know for sure.
I heard one reason was money, that he wanted like $10 million to do it, and Dimension was like, no, like you're not like that huge. You're not that huge anymore. We're not giving you $10 million.
Guy.
And so Jamie Lee Curtis was like, so at the end of the day, it became like, okay, now it's just her trying to spearhead this 20-year movie,
which is so interesting because like I just think that's so interesting that she was such a force to get it going, because at that time she was not really doing any kind of horrors or thrillers. She was doing like comedy. No. So
she was doing like True Lies in the mid-90s.
Right. I mean, True Lies was excellent, but it's so interesting, knowing that she was the one to get it going. And also, I'm pretty sure, and I love Jamie Lee Curtis, but I do have to shade her a little bit. I'm pretty sure she never watched like Scream. I feel like she said that on record. She's like, "Oh, I've never seen that." That's
she's never seen it. She's talked about it a lot.
But she's at least a smart businesswoman, and she's like, "Oh, this movie Scream, which kind of talks about me and my movie Halloween, like is such a success," because she has to know, okay, now let's bring Halloween back. So I do think it's a little weird. It's like you didn't want to at least watch the movie that like spearheaded this whole late 90s craze, but whatever. Yeah. Teach his own.
Well, apparently she's not a horror movie. She's not a horror movie person. She's talked about it a lot. She doesn't really like watching them. I do think it's kind of shady because I don't know if you know that story about at the Halloween Ends premiere where Danielle Harris, who was in Halloween 4 and 5, basically kind of went up to her, and then also Scout Taylor, who was in the Halloween remake. They went up together to talk to Jamie Lee Curtis, and Jamie Lee Curtis was basically like, "I don't know who you are, never seen your movies," and they were just kind of like so hurt by it. And I understand their side, but also Jamie Lee Curtis she's always made it known that she doesn't like watching horror movies. Like, I mean,
and I get that, but it's
can you see her sitting down watching Halloween 4? Like, she's not gonna do that.
I mean, no, but if you want to like kickstart the franchise again, I would assume she would at least like, I don't know, look at the poster and see this girl on the post. It's a little weird.
Or follow it in like pop culture,
right?
Like,
or
be
just
aware
like
of these
have one of her assistants be like, okay, well, what happened in 4? I mean, she has to know what happened in 4, 5, 6 for her and the team to be like, all right, let's ignore all that. Let's go back to the 1 and 2. You know what I mean? So it's a little cold. I listened to their podcast and they were heartbroken over that.
They were hurt. Yeah. Well, we can talk about the kid thing a little bit because in Halloween, of course, in the Halloween 1, 2, 4, 5, 6 timeline, Jamie Danielle Harris was Laurie Strode's daughter. So, but in H2O, we're ignoring all that. She has no daughter, but she does have a son. Do we like that they disregard all that, and then we got Josh Hartnett in the end for her son playing her son?
Take it away, Wes.
I do like the retconning because I don't love the 4, 5, and 6. But that made me sad. The whole anecdote just made me sad, and I feel bad about saying that. But I do like that I'm not saying Josh Hartnett's John is a better character than Jamie or any of that. He really isn't. But the overall story, I guess they really could have found a way, I guess, to write something that tied all of them together, but they chose this direction and they went all in on retconning it. And I think it did pay off. Even if I think the teen side of the story with Josh Hartnett and Michelle Williams, that side of the story is the weakest part of H2O. But I do think it paid off.
Yeah. Yeah, what I'll say about the teens, it is I guess it is the weakest part because we really care about how like Laurie is adjusting 20 years later. What I do appreciate about the teens though is that Mark, we talked about this when we did the I Know You Did Last Summer episode. Everyone in that movie is incredibly good looking. They look like movie stars. I will say that all the kids in H2O, they're a little bit messy. They don't really look like, Hollywood, like typical movie stars. Like Josh Hartnett's got that funky hair.
Oh my God, that funky hair.
Adam Hann-Bryd is not a stud either. Jodi Lyn O'Keefe is gorgeous, but she's not like traditionally gorgeous. And then Michelle Williams is more pretty than hot. I always thought that I always appreciated that they were more realistic looking, at least. They felt like actual teenagers.
I might be the only one here,
models.
But I love the teens. And I love how Jodi Lyn O'Keefe, is this babe, but she's kind of like funky and a little grungy. And I thought the casting was really interesting. And maybe I liked them a lot.
Of the era, for sure, I thought.
Yes. And Jodi Lyn O'Keefe for me is also, there's a girl in 6, the one before this, with the Matthew Lillard
that comes off I know you're talking about.
Who I feel like that's the same DNA. Like I'm like, oh, okay, you are sort of the 90s Halloween victim, and I'm okay with that. Like we all knew Michelle Williams was probably not going to die because she was like such a thing at this time. But I just have to say, I have to give them a little bit of credit. I like them. I know they're a little sappy with all these candles. Like who had the time to light all these candles? This is a fire. Who wants to? You guys are going to get drunk, and now you're going to have to blow out like 500 candles. No, but I just have to say, I want to give them credit because I really enjoy them. I enjoy Joseph Gordon-Levitt and his friend because I don't love Jamie Lee Curtis's love interest.
No.
Alan, is it Alan Arkin or Adam?
Adam
Arkin.
Yeah, his dad was Alan. Yeah.
Better known as Ethan Zobel in Sons of Anarchy. That's where I know him. So it's nice to see him back.
And
I agree.
Back at this time, he was on like Chicago Hope, or I don't think it was ER. Yeah. It was like one of those shows.
No, Chicago. Yeah.
There's something about him. I like him, but like seeing him kiss, I'm like,
I know.
Show me the kids.
Weird.
Yeah.
I don't want to see a Laurie Strode romance, or like I feel like that's just not what her character
I was okay
is.
with that because like she's like a drunk and she's like grieving and trying to like, so I was okay seeing like her trying to like get frisky. I was okay with that, but not with him. Maybe with someone else. I don't know. So that's why I'm like, all right,
they're not an attractive couple for sure.
Show me, and it is funny going back to like how in 1998, I mean, we're seeing violence. Like, I Know What You Did Last Summer, just a few months before this, we saw the hook in the throat. But this movie is probably the most tame Halloween. Would you guys say?
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, I think so.
There's not a lot of impact. There's blood, but it's right? We see the aftermath of the skate. We see the aftermath of like throat slashing. Even in the beginning with Marion, the nurse, like it's a little bit of blood on the throat. It's totally opposite of what the Halloween movies are like now, which in my opinion are too much. I don't like it because the original Halloween, I guess you know what they were going for. This 98 one was very similar to 78. Very little blood when you think about it. Like it was not so gory. The new ones to me were too much.
However, the dumbwaiter on the leg, that got me. It still got me when I was watching it earlier today.
How he strings her up, like that reveal of her corpse being tied up. That was one of my favorite like shots.
I still don't really get it. So the light bulb is like in.
Was through her.
It was like through her. Did he cut a hole? Oh yes, so now I'm remembering. Someone said she was like a human jack-o'-lantern with like the light in the middle of her, but it wasn't super clear. I still to this day I'm like, so by the way, what's going on?
He did that in like record time. By the way, there is not much time between her dying and then them going to go see like, oh, what was that noise? It's a very quick turnaround. It's funny too that this is introducing Josh Hartnett. I mean, in this same year, he at the end of the year he did The Faculty. I guess he said he filmed these pretty much at the same time.
Wow,
like
same hair.
And that's how Dimension. Yeah, that's how Dimension knew who he was. So they were like, hey, like he's already working on this one movie we're doing. Like, we'll send him over for that. And
I was looking at his IMDb, and this really was his very first thing on IMDb. Like even Jamie Lee, I know it was introducing Jamie Lee for the first one, but she had done like a couple TV things. So I need to like find out like who is Josh Hartnett's agent? Who is he related to? Like very rarely does someone get that great of a intro for a big franchise movie. Like, I mean, I love him. I think he's great. I think he's dreamy. Like, it totally works. Oh yeah, like his fights, like we were saying with his mom, I think are strong and
really
realistic,
good.
Yeah. So yeah, and it was kind of fun to swap the genders. Have she was 17 in the first one, now it's her son, a guy 17. Like I thought that was a cool way to.
Yeah, I actually like that scene a lot. I mean, actually, not the whole scene. So going back to Adam Arkin, when she's telling him finally about like what happened to her, and it's mixed in with them kissing, and he's like kind of drunk, and he's like still trying to get her to like take off her clothes, and she's like, no. Like, by the way, when he tells her like, oh, that sucks, take off your clothes, she's already said like, my brother killed my sister with a very large.
I was like, man.
She's
but
like,
the overall scene, you're not listening to me. But what's strong about the scene is her. Like the way she plays it is really well done. And I also love the callback to her, like when he's like, "Oh, how old were you?" And then she looks and sees the birthday card, and it's his 17th birthday. I thought that was really good. But yeah, that scene as a whole is weird because it's like, why did they have him act like a teenage boy? I mean, he's like well into his like what 40s, 50s, and he was acting like like an idiot. I don't know. It was kind of silly.
Yeah. It was weird.
Yeah. What do you guys think of Ladies Love Cool James? Hello, Cool J.
I love that Cool J. I think he's hilarious. I think he's so good in this movie. And the conversations he has with his wife are so funny.
Oh, those are
not
great.
Supportive, but I think it's great. I think he adds a lot. He adds a lot.
Yeah, those are the funniest moments in the movie for me. Like the interaction with him and his wife over the phone over his like trashy romance novel.
Is anyone else like me where my brain, especially like years after watching this, I am choosing to believe that his wife on the phone is Loretta Devine in Urban Legend because it sounds like her, and this was the year we got like sassy black, awesome cops or security guards that like help save the day, because LL Cool J doesn't die, which is surprising that they never brought him back for another one, because he's such a big star. But then, then also I think the way LL Cool J is reading like these seductive like things he's written, it makes me think of Joseph Gordon-Levitt in 10 Things I Hate About You when Allison Janney, if you guys know that one, she's like the guidance counselor writing this like sexual stuff at school. So that's like my brain of like, okay, I think Loretta Devine and Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Julia Stiles, everyone's all connected at this school. So that's me. That's where my nerdy brain goes.
What I found funny was when I was watching the Blu-ray for this, and Malika Khan, who's like a producer, was saying why they cast LL Cool J, and they were like, our market research so that like basically African Americans love horror movies, so we needed someone that like would appeal to them. That was their choice because at the time, he was still pretty big like in hip hop and stuff. So, and he was acting as well. But I just love that was the reason that like we need a black person in this movie is what we're learning from our market research, and that's why they said they copied that again in Halloween Resurrection with Busta Rhymes. That's why they did that.
And Tyra,
and Tyra Banks and Resurrection. So like it's. They doubled down on that whole thing. It's rough, and it was funny we were gonna get that movie no matter what. No matter how this ended, we were gonna get that movie.
I still can't believe I know because of the contractual. That's Jamie Lee apparently like signed a deal for 2 movies, so that's why they killed her in the beginning. Yeah. But I still cannot believe because. Yes, even if this movie we agree is maybe imperfect, it's still one of the better ones and far better than 4 years later, which also was really surprising that it took 4 years for the next one to come out when this one was a hit. Yeah. But like, oh my God, to follow this good movie up and that great ending with that, like what were they smoking? Who was in charge? Like, what? Oh my God.
How do they, I've been curious about how they justify bringing back Michael Myers after that.
Well, whose idea that was, which I was shook because I didn't think it would be his idea. Kevin Williamson came up with the idea of like, oh, we'll just switch out like the paramedic dude for Michael Myers, and that'll be that. And so basically, it's not him. It's like Michael Myers at some point switched with like one of the paramedic dudes and put the mask on them.
They retcon the best moment in the entire film where they like.
That's right, Jackson. You don't know. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh God. It's like
the beginning.
The only scene that he liked, and he's like, it doesn't even
like
count.
literally, like I couldn't consider anything after. If I had seen this in '98, I would not. I would have been probably furious at anything that came out after this one.
And most people were. Most people were like, "Wait, what?" And I don't even remember what the trailer was like for Resurrection. And also, I still hate the title Resurrection. I mean, I guess it plays into that. But the original title was Homecoming. I remember, and I saw like a poster for it, and I was like, "Ooh, Homecoming. Does that mean the dance? Or oh no, he's coming home?" And I thought that was. I actually like the idea of that movie. It's just the execution and the cast and the comedy. It's just, but the idea of live streaming in the Myers house, I think that was actually kind of a cool idea. Not killing off Jamie Lee. Maybe the whole time she's trying to get out of the mental institution. I mean, there are things there, but I just have to get that off my chest. That, like, this movie is so good and so fun, and you're working towards something, and then the next movie just shits all over it. I'm just like, what? Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
It makes no sense. It's like, because Michael Myers is not like a strategic person in my mind. He's kind of just like, got a knife, got to kill.
He's got one goal.
Like that's it's single track mind. And then he goes and he pulls like this Hannibal Lecter maneuver of switching the mask on the other guy so that he can sneak out, and the other guy gets. It's so annoying. It's just like, that is frustrating. Like, just on a character level, if that's not what Michael Myers would even do, like, makes no sense. And then to just wreck that ending of that great ending. Oh,
I did read that, by the way, I guess in the original, were you going to say this, guys? The original, I guess, shooting script or whatever, they were going to have that ending. Like, we were going to see that explained to us, right? But it's interesting that they decided to take it out, I guess, in case this really was the end, if it wasn't going to be a hit.
I think if they added it, I think what they were going for is, hey, like, the audience is gonna love that final, like, she chops his head off. I mean, when I saw it in theaters, like, it got a big, huge applause when she did it. So I guess they didn't want to ruin that final moment by being like, oh, well, let's show them, like, kind of like mid credits, this is what really happened, kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, and Jackson, by the way, Halloween Resurrection begins with, like, fully explaining how he got away. Like, why couldn't the guy talk? Well, like,
it's like a cop or something, right?
And it's like basically like, oh, why couldn't the guy talk? They're like, oh, well, he crushed his larynx, and it was like that kind of like thing. Like, it was.
That's abysmal. Talking about, while we're on the subject of this ending though, even though I did say earlier that it did kind of make up for like what I did not enjoy about the movie, because I thought the ending was better than the movie. I do got to say though, like, overall, I'm a team Michael Halloween fan more than Laurie. So I feel like the only satisfying ending I would get out of a Halloween franchise would be something like what we got in, like, or both.
So you're gonna love the next one.
Yeah, exactly. But more like, I would want something. You guys ever see Alien versus Predator Requiem, where they both take each other out? Yeah. Final. I want something like that. Like, unstoppable force, immovable object. They can only go out together. That's the only ending I want in a Halloween series. So,
I kind of was hoping that was going to happen, and
that's what I wanted.
Thought they both were going to die, but let's not even. That was so strange. Yeah.
I do want to ask all three of you, since you've all seen the 2018. Her kind of showdown with him in this compared to her showdown with him in 2018, which one hits better, you think? Like, I guess I'll start with Wes to go.
That's a hard one. I really like the 2018, the finale. I think is one of the best parts of the whole movie. There's a lot of, like, callbacks to the original, where she's, like, coming out of the shadows and stabbing him, and it's just, like, a really intense, awesome, like, hand-to-hand scene. But I think what H2O does, I don't know, the scale in H2O is bigger. There's that, the car crash and the impaling and then the head chopping off. Like, I don't know, they both hit really hard, and I think it just, the reason why H2O hits harder is because, in my mind, that's like the ending of a story. Like, I don't consider Resurrection to be real at all.
Yeah.
And I think that gives it more gravity in my mind.
All right,
sure.
That's fair.
No,
what about you, Mark? Or Jackson? Yeah.
Go ahead, Mark.
It's super tough, because I totally agree with what Wes said. It's funny because when I first saw the 2018 one, I wasn't loving what I was seeing, but then after seeing Kills and Ends, I was like, oh, 2018 was actually really good.
Yeah.
So the ending, I agree. I was scared with the mannequins and like, whoa, brutal and all that. So I really did enjoy that big showdown at the end and the house and everything. But ultimately, I do love when Michael and Laurie are siblings, because I think just that twist at the end of 2 when the nurse who we see in the beginning of this movie explains that they are actually related. I love that. I love how they hold on to each other's hands for a second, and then she just like, I don't know. I really like how she is so in control with H2O.
Yep.
So, or H20, whatever we call it. So I just kind of have to give that, because also keep in mind, because Scream and Halloween have always, but especially at this time, we're like so sibling rivalry. Like I loved how the end of 3 in Scream, it's brother sister, which I think was a total ode to these two. So I do have to give it to H20. Also, because when I was seeing it in theaters, I kind of had this like little weird premonition. I'm like, I bet you there's going to be like a sick like car crash or something. So when that happened, I was like over the moon. I was like, oh my God, I got my wish. The van's like, so I was like, so yeah, that's a tough question. They're neck and neck, but I got to give it to H20.
Mm-hmm. I do like how she is able to overpower him at the end. I, not having seen this ending before, so it's weird. I did know that somewhere amongst the Halloween sequel, she hits him with a van and he goes flying, and this, I just didn't know where in that universe it happened. So seeing it here, I thought perhaps it was all going to be over when she kills him at the school, thinking if that's how she's able to defeat him in this movie, I'm not going to be satisfied with that ending. So I like what she's able to do in the final moments, but I gotta say, I think I'd give the edge to 2018, mostly because I like how Laurie's handled as a character more in 2018, how she's spent years and years just prepping for this final moment rather than kind of running and hiding for Michael, which I can understand. I think that would have been a cool approach to explore at the time this movie came out, but having seen both, like, I think I like how they handled her, the more prepared, badass, ready for that final showdown if it takes decades. That's the Laurie Strode ending that I like. So I'd give the edge to 2018. And just there's a lot of awesome iconography in that, the house and her trapping him in the basement with the bars and the house on fire and him just looking up at her. Like, that is one of my favorite shots of the series. So yeah, hard not to. Yeah. I do like the ending of this. It wouldn't be the ending I would draft up, but rarely are they ever. So what they did, I enjoyed
in an earlier draft, did you guys ever? I was reading it a little bit years ago. There was like a helicopter and like there was this big scale thing going on. Do you remember?
Yeah, they were supposed to be like, she was supposed to be being taken away on a helicopter, and he's supposed to be like holding on to her as she was getting lifted away, and like it was like this whole big like. They're probably like, wait, we don't have the budget for that, but like on paper, that's what they were going for, that kind of ending. I actually prefer the 2018.
God, I did not.
Showdown a little bit more. What I realized with this, even though I liked the last 15 minutes or so, from the start of like the Josh Hartnett, Michelle Williams chase scene to the end, the movie moves so fast from that point. Like, it doesn't stop. Mm-hmm. Like, it doesn't even stop 20 minutes for a second. Yeah, It doesn't stop to breathe for a second. And even like her stuff, like Laurie alone with him, is really fast. Like they have like a few minutes to kind of like duke it out, I guess, and then that's it. And it just goes by like so fast. I just kind of wish that it was like a little bit longer. Mm-hmm. But that's just like, I guess there is some fun stuff in it. I mean, I still love when she decides that, they're going to leave and she's going to stay behind, and finally she's going to finally confront him. And then she kicks the thing out and gets the axe, and then she yells his name out, and we get the whole big Halloween theme like drop right there. I think that
was cool.
And I love that when she does it, we hear her breathing. Or maybe am I making that up?
Oh, that was at the end. That was at the end when she chops his head off.
At the end. I do love that. Yeah. Like, oh, okay, now she's so like, that's pretty awesome, I have to say. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I will say I don't understand why LL Cool J just didn't let her like, knife him one more time. He's like, oh, he's dead, let's go. And like, I'll just
she drops a knife to go and grab the one out of him and stab him with that. I thought that was dumb. Like, you were holding one, and then she drops it and he falls over. It's like, why are you even getting close to that guy?
Laurie has a reputation for dropping knives when she's not supposed to. If you go back to like all the movies. You know what's funny about Mark about you loving the sibling thing is that John Carpenter, like, even though he came up with it, like, hates it. Like, he was just like, he was like, I needed a twist. He was like, I needed a twist, and I was drunk, and that's what I came up with. And that's kind of what
great. I really like it. I don't know. There's something so, like, I think it makes sense. I think and I think also I just love that how we find out. We find out, like, in the last, honestly, like the last like 7 minutes of Halloween 2, it's like, that's his sister, and it's like, oh,
it makes more sense than him just killing a random babysitter.
Yeah,
right? And
like,
he's
I don't
so
know.
fixated on her. Yeah.
After a while,
Well,
would he really be that fixated on that babysitter? I don't think so. And like 20 years later and 40 years later, I'm like, I think he would have moved on to anyone else. Also, my one criticism of 2018. Why is Laurie still living in Haddonfield? I kind of like how this story's like, even if we don't want her to be in hiding, I like how she's like, fuck Haddonfield, I'm going to California, which I also have to give up. I have to give props to this one for, I think, being the only Halloween movie not taking place in Haddonfield. I know 3 is different, but at least in the Michael Myers movies.
But it didn't feel like Halloween to me without it being in Haddonfield, so that also kind of bothered me. I get the move for her story for sure, her wanting to create a new identity and get away, but it's not Halloween without a Haddonfield personally, so that took me out of it a little bit.
The opening for me still feels Haddonfield.
For sure, yeah.
It feels very Mark, you're very right though, by the way. Like, Sydney left Woodsboro like after the first movie. Like, she went to college, and then after that she left. I mean, like, she didn't really stay. Like, she got out of Woodsboro.
We've spent enough time in Woodsboro in that franchise where, like, I'm good for a while between 1, 4, 5. Like, I like when we move and there's new people or the killers follow. I think that stretches, I feel like, imaginations. And speaking of Scream, I'm sure you guys know this same location for H2O as the school is the big finale house in Scream 3.
In Scream 3, it is. Yeah.
It's a huge place, I guess. Yeah,
it's used in a lot of movies.
Okay. Yeah, was it also used in the Buffy show, or am I getting that confused with another building?
It looks like it almost looks like their college campus. I don't know. It feels like it could have been. Yeah.
I know they used it in like Neon Demon and Under the Silver Lake were other movies that used that house, but it's used a lot. It's in a lot of films.
Huh.
Wow.
Which makes me more upset that I like the chasing in this one, but that setting is so sprawling that they could have used it a lot more, I think, to utilize the school setting a lot more in the movie. But I guess the movie's only 80 some odd minutes, so they really have time to do.
Oh yeah,
right.
I kind of wish Josh Hartnett and Michelle Williams, when she says like go, she tells him to leave, and she breaks the thing, and then she does the famous Michael. But like on their way out, like driving, I kind of wanted their car to crash, and like they're still there, and maybe he's also chasing. Like, I feel like they left so soon that it would have been fun, and maybe also a little nod to Scream, where like the first Scream, what's so great about that finale is everyone's kind of scattered throughout Matthew Lillard's property. Like, Gail's over there, and that it could have been fun to have something like that again, where like the teens are over there, Laurie's over here, but where's Michael? Ooh, So
that would have been great.
I remember the girl I saw with in theaters, the only reason she wanted to go, she's a Dawson's Creek fan, so Michelle Williams, that was the only reason she wanted to see it. So once I remember distinctly, once they are out the movie, she's sitting next to me and she just leans over and she's just like, well, there goes my reason for wanting to watch this. And she like got really disinterested, completely disinterested after that. And I was like, all right, well, and thankfully it wasn't that much longer, because she was like really sitting there just like, when is this going to be over?
Oh my God.
But yeah. I kind of wish they stuck around, because I think it would have been good. I mean, I get having Laurie alone, but like, having her son there at least too would have been like a good,
because I do love how the ending is a true showdown just between Laurie and Michael. So like, I think it'd be cool if they stayed around, but still, were elsewhere or something, because. Yeah, I agree with you guys. It's a little too short. It's like, no, give me some, like, let's use this space even more, because there's like cool stuff where the kids are like underground that I feel like we don't ever see again, and I thought we would have, in the like weird tunnels. Yeah. So
yeah, in the bowels of the school.
Right.
I guess if I had the choice between Yosemite and like hanging with my 2 other friends, I guess I would hang out there with them. I just love how Adam Hann-Bryd is like, he's just the horny friend. He doesn't really have much of a character other than that.
No.
Like all of his dialogue to his girlfriend is about how he wants to have sex with her, and then he makes a comment about them having an orgy, and that's all. That's his entire character. And what's funny too, because he was supposed to be in Can't Hardly Wait, which is another callback to us talking about that. He was supposed to be God, why am I blanking on the nerd's name? He was supposed to be him, William.
Yep.
And he looked too young, and they got the other guy instead. So at least he got to be an H2O. But he doesn't get the gratification to die on screen, though. I mean, I guess.
True. Yeah, that is.
But again, it's a cool
Myers
reveal in the dumbwaiter. I mean, that dumbwaiter is a pretty awesome set piece. I always get like kind of freaked out when he cuts it, when Michael cuts it, and it just slams.
Like, comes on. Yeah.
Right? There's something like hardcore about that I'm like, whoa.
It's so gross.
Yeah. And Jodi Lyn O'Keefe does good, like, good supporting, like I get killed, in the movie character. Like she does what she needs to do, and it does it well. I forgot that she was kind of a thing in the late 90s. She was in a few things back then.
What else was she in?
All that. Oh, sorry. I don't mean to be shady at all. No, if anything, I wish she. Oh God. Oh my God.
I missed what you said.
Don't hate me. I love you. I think she's great. No, I just said she was a brief thing, meaning like I think she should have done more. I'm surprised she did this, and then she was the villain, and she's all that, and she was in, I think, like Devil in the Flesh 2, the sequel to the Rose McGowan movie, if you guys remember that. But yeah, then she just sort of did like, I feel like CBS shows, and I'm like, meh, meh. But I like her. I think she's great. Yeah, I would have actually wanted more.
I'd have taken more.
Of her, yeah. I think it could have been fun if that couple didn't die. Maybe he died, but maybe she had more of a, I don't know. Again, they could have just prolonged it a bit more since it was so fun, but I can't critique too much.
Yeah, the movie does seem really segmented in like bits. Like there's the part where the two side characters get killed, and then you follow the two main side team characters, and then it does have that issue where it definitely feels very segmented.
Like, okay, this is this part, this is their moment, but I do love that jump scare with Michelle and Josh as they're running through the woods, and then all of a sudden Michael's just there, and he's just like, right?
Good. However, that kind of alerted me to a trait of Michael in this movie that I hadn't seen in any others. Is he not faster in this movie than any other? He kind of comes from out of nowhere. They left him in the dust, and then all of a sudden they're outside, and he's right caught up with them. It got me because I
think he teleports.
I think he teleports.
I honestly think he teleports.
There's some scenes where you see him coming way earlier, I guess, than you'd expect.
Oh,
so especially for a guy canonically should be in like his like late 40s.
Right.
But not that it's much of a complaint, but no, he got me there. But this movie, I'm glad finally somebody said jump scare. I thought there were far too many fake jump scares in this movie. There was, I lost count at one point. I was like,
there were a lot.
Although I can't be too harsh because I understand like Laurie is supposed to be this character who's on edge and never know when she's going to come across Michael again. So the ones on her being on edge, I understand, but there's just a lot of characters that get spooked for no real reason in this movie. So that was something I had written down.
When the boys like jump scare LL Cool J, he's like, whoa, I'm like, I don't know if we needed that, but okay. Yeah. A lot of fake outs for sure.
Definitely. Yeah. I wonder if Gaius is working on getting back in here or what happened. I saw he was frozen for a sec.
Yeah, I thought I was frozen for a sec. I was like, oh, is it me? I was like, oh no, I guess it's Gaius. Uh-oh.
Oh, no.
One other thing too that I had, like, I don't want to just be levying criticisms, but did you guys find, or did you even notice this at all? Do you guys think that Michael spared a few people in this movie? Did that ever get to you guys? Like, rarely do we see him not take an opportunity to kill, but I can at least remember a few moments where he plays, I guess, doesn't play up to his, doing what he does best and leaves some people, like the bathroom scene between that random mother and daughter.
Yeah, the girl in the bathroom.
Yeah, just takes the keys and spares them. I thought that was kind of uncharacteristic for one of the most notable serial killers in cinema, but I couldn't justify, and I don't blame them for not showing him kill a little girl, but I just thought it was odd to include it to not have them die.
I mean, I don't know. I think I love that scene and how funny. Again, in 2018, the next time this was retconned, we got another.
Yes.
Well,
I feel like that makes up for this one.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I love the bathroom scene in this one and in that one. That one's pretty great. But yeah, you're right. I think he could have killed both of them, and that would have, if he killed a kid. I'm just trying to remember. Did he kill any kids previously in the movies? I don't know if he's ever killed.
I can't say for any of the ones in between, or actually after the first, but none that I have seen. It seems like he spares
but that would have really upped the ante if maybe obviously not on camera and
but
this
he's
movie,
evil,
as we know, didn't show much on camera. But yeah, pure evil, seeing their dead bodies on the floor under the stalls, that would have been dark.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, and then he also spares LL Cool J too. There's a scene. Remember, you get a glimpse of him at 2 different windows, and I thought that was it for his character. I'm like, hey, that's it for him, good to see him while he lasted. But I thought it was really, not that it took me out of the movie by any means, but I was like, okay, interesting. This is, again, I didn't expect to see it even once, and then we get it again. I thought that was an interesting, I guess, directing choice or writing choice. But
yeah, I've never really thought about that.
Where does he go from that scene? He passes LL Cool J, and where does he go? I'm trying to think what happens after that, but.
Is that when LL Cool J's looking in the car, or a different scene when he's?
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, you're right. So he uses the truck as a diversion to get through the gate. Right.
Also, can we just talk about that truck? It's cool, but why was that woman driving that truck? I still every time right?
Yeah,
it's so random.
It's the most random car.
Vibes. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I love
Creepers car.
Yes,
that's what it reminds me
Jackson. I'm so glad you also brought up Jeepers Creepers, because I even thought rewatching it. So I love the moment, and I even looked. It's directly halfway through the movie is when all the buses leave. I just love that. I like the score. I think it's kind of ominous, even though they're actually going to a safe place. But it's just ooh, because first time watcher, you're like, is he gonna go after the kids, or is he going? But it made me think of Jeepers Creepers too, because part of me is oh, I want Michael to chase after the kids and do a slash on the bus. But we kind of got that with Jeepers Creepers 2, which is a big mess, but at least fun on the broken down
I
bus.
think Jeepers Creepers 2 is fantastic.
Right?
A good mess, I guess.
Oh,
yes.
What I
mean? Yeah.
It's so, you can't look away. It's so fun. Yeah. No. That was the last good one.
Yeah, right? Exactly. I haven't seen anything past that, but did we ever get a fourth, or did they stop with the?
Oh yeah,
we did. Was that a couple years ago?
Yeah,
that was I think maybe a year ago.
Maybe Okay.
Jeepers Creepers Reborn. I think it was called.
Okay, you're right, because they did have just a third.
Yeah.
Let's see. Is he gonna get back in this time?
Can you hear me?
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah.
Sorry, Firefox was like, "Fuck you," and crashed.
Oh my gosh, he's back from the dead.
Chrome's way to go.
I know I gotta go Chrome all day, but I did catch your Jeepers Creepers. Just keep talking.
Oh, did you hear that? Oh, okay, yeah. I would have loved to seen Michael Myers tear up a bus of kids. That would have been awesome.
That would have been pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm sure inevitably we will get another film, right?
So maybe we almost got that in the 2018 one too, though, with the bus of prisoners.
Yes,
oh,
totally.
Yes.
That could have been a scene. That they really they need to do this. They need to have a bus. Michael Myers on a bus.
Right?
That's
even if it's just a couple people, because I know Texas Chainsaw, the last one that was on Netflix, did that whole big mass murder on the bus. But even if it's just a few people in the back and ooh, that could be real spooky. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the best scene. It's awful movie though.
In Texas, the new Texas Chainsaw. I only watched that
franchise
bus
now though. Moving forward, is it just done now, or is it what do you with it?
That's a good question.
Does anybody want to take this?
I don't think it'll ever be done.
Yeah.
At this rate,
I think as long as they can continue to make money off of it, they're going to continue.
I don't think so either.
To bring Michael Myers back,
which I am disappointed. I'd love to see better iterations of Michael than we have received, but at one point, you need to find a high note and let the character rest, because it's just, I feel like the more we see of him, the more it diminishes his character, and there's more. It just opens up different doors to retcon or change our previous perceptions of him and what he can do. And I kind of like the allure of Michael Myers and not knowing his origins or what his limits are in terms of can he be killed or not. Other having not seen this movie before, that was something I was, not sure of, and I liked that ambiguity of his character. So as much as I'd love to see him tearing up on screen, I hope we get a decent break after the last movie, but.
I'm sure
it's interesting that you
but it's going to be a while.
I think we'll see him again. It's interesting that you said that, Jackson, about the like ambiguity of the character, because like a lot of fans think the whole like, the whole sibling thing and all that kind of, since it gives him a motive, it kind of humanizes him, while the what John Carpenter wanted from him, which was just like he's just a force and it's just pure evil. That is like what his original. So that's why some people, I guess, don't like the whole like, it was the sister and that's why he's after her, because it gives him a motive and that is less scary. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what direction you take it now. I've heard some people say they should do like a limited series rather than a movie, and kind of like go into like how like Haddonfield mythology a little bit, but I don't even know if that would really work. I thought it was crazy when we got Halloween Kills that they were talking about like that hell, they're gonna make more after these are all done. They were even talking about that, like, hey, we're gonna make our 3 and we know they're gonna just make more of these until we finish it. And so that was like a weird thing, but like, all right, well, does that make your trilogy not as important anymore?
Right.
I think so.
I feel like we're going to see more of Michael, of course. Hopefully, I agree, Jackson. Hopefully it's not for a while. Let's like give a nice long break. Let's leave Laurie Strode alone now. Both Jamie Lee, she's not going to do these anymore. She is done. And we learned from the Rob Zombie remakes. I did not like those movies. And talk about so violent and so
guilty pleasure.
Oh, you like those, Jackson?
Black Sheep. I like the first one. There's aspects, because I'm just like, I don't know what it is. I'm just like a violence whore. I don't know what it is. I just like.
I mean, they are violent. So I like Rob Zombie's
direction, like not even just in the Halloweens, but like just him as a filmmaker. I just kind of fuck with his style. So I think I'm partial to them, even though I recognize they're not objectively great movies. I think they were a good change in direction at the time we got them. So I am a little partial to particularly the first one.
I did love the opening of his second one. That was absolutely terrifying in the hospital with
sequence,
Octavia Spencer. That was terrifying and so much, and a great little nod to the original sequel. But no, I feel like let's leave. So basically those movies showed us that also no one can really play Laurie Strode.
True.
Unless it's Jamie Lee.
No
offense. Like the girls were fine, but they were not as cool as our original girls. I would love to fill in the blanks. Like, show me Michael, even if it's not totally in the canon of the story, why not the new sequel in the future take place when he's in the mental hospital before he breaks out, and maybe he kills people in the mental hospital, some patients, some doctors, and maybe it's all contained in the Haddonfield psych ward or something. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like we can get creative and do things kind of in between movies, even if they don't totally line up. That could be kind of cool.
I would like to see a little bit more of Loomis's perspective while Michael is in the hospital, and see how he's trying to work on him, and maybe see him go from that charismatic psychiatrist that thinks he can treat this person to slowly lose hope over time and do whatever he can to keep him locked up, just for it all to crumble by the end of the movie or miniseries, whatever it is. I think that would be awesome to see.
Yeah.
And what we learned from the Halloween Kills is that I know David Gordon Green did that, but they could effectively recreate that time period like they did with that opening scene of Kills, which was really great.
That was
really
sick.
Great.
That was really good. So I wouldn't mind seeing more of. Because of course, Donald Pleasance passed away a long time ago, so you have to just find the right person to fill in like a young version of him, and then I think that would I would like seeing that more than because I think Laurie's done. I know Danielle Harris wants to come back so bad. I mean, I do like her. I do like Jamie. I mean, I grew up on Halloween 4 and 5 a lot. Those were the ones I actually watched those sequels a lot more than Halloween 2 when I was a kid. So I actually do like the character of Jamie, particularly in number 4. And I get her. The best thing that Rob Zombie did for fans was actually cast Danielle Harris as Annie in those remakes that he did, because that was like a nice nod to the fans and for her to kind of get brought back. Because she admits to being butthurt when she wasn't asked to be an H2O. And then saw that no, Laurie doesn't have a daughter, she has a son, and that daughter doesn't even exist anymore. So she was pretty hurt by that.
I understand. That sucks for her.
And then for 2018, for Laurie to have a daughter again, but still it's not her.
Oh my god! She must feel like, I'm so unwanted by this series. Like, why can I have my comeback?
They were like, they rather have Judy Greer than me.
In my dream world, again, because I love H20. I would totally see a spin-off Halloween of Josh Hartnett and Michelle Williams. This will never happen, but this can happen in my brain. They're like, it's only about them. It's not about Laurie anymore. It's this, show me like the characters that like survived. Like even LL Cool J, whatever. Okay, have LL Cool J and Danielle Harris.
Okay,
right? Like they can lead the next one. Like
he wrote some book about the events. Like it's like 20 years later.
Halloween Stale Weathers, yes.
He's on. Yeah, that's hilarious. All right, guys.
Go ahead, guys.
No. What were you gonna say?
Oh, I didn't know if you were getting ready to wrap up or not, because I didn't want to say this if that was the case, is because it could be a lengthier sort of question. But I just wanted to see, particularly Wes, I don't think you got a chance to really share your thoughts on Rob Zombies. I want to know if there were any other people that liked anything to do with what he brought to the series, or am I just the black sheep with those ones?
I'll let Wes go first.
Okay.
I watched the original Halloween and Rob Zombie's Halloween as a double feature back when I first saw them.
Yeah, I like that double feature.
When I finished John Carpenter's, I was kind of like, that was good. I like that. That was okay. And I wasn't like horribly enthused or anything, but I was like, that was good. I like that. That's solid. And then I watched Rob Zombie's Halloween, and immediately I was looking at John Carpenter's Halloween, and I was like, that was a masterpiece. And this is
I don't blame you for thinking that. You're absolutely right. There's just because John's undoubtedly or undisputably is like the GOAT, like the movie, even not even just Halloween movie, but like slasher. But I don't know what it is about Rob and what he brings and just kind of reinvigorates it for me. But I've always enjoyed. Maybe that will change over time, but I usually flip flop between softened. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think they grow as he walks, but maybe not.
Here's what I'll say. I actually like Devil's Rejects a lot, so I do like his style outside of Halloween.
That's a fucking
when I first saw his Halloween remake, I hated it. Wanted to take a dump on it. That's how much I hated it. Because Jackson, we talked about it. Like Halloween is not only one of my favorite horror movies; it's like one of my favorite movies in general.
Yes.
So I thought
that would be an abomination to you.
I thought what he did was like a huge fuck you to what John Carpenter had done. But years down the line, there's stuff I can appreciate about it. There's some I still don't love the first hour. Like that's all Rob Zombie stuff. That's all like trailer park weird. That's what he does. Right. That's his bread and butter. Right?
His wife too was tough.
I don't mind
in every fucking movie.
Everything. I don't mind. I don't mind some of the recreation stuff they did towards because the last 45 minutes is basically like an accelerated remake of like what the first movie is. Yeah, like there's some really cool. There's some cool shots, and I actually think some of like the set pieces are decent, like the stuff with Danielle Harris and the fact that she did her chase scene or her attack scene topless is still like. I mean, it sounds like something Rob Zombie would do, but and then I actually think the chase scene with Laurie is pretty decent. It's not like Jamie Lee Curtis is in the original, but it's There's like little bits and pieces that I find okay. Now Halloween 2, I hate. I didn't like anything about it. I can't find any redeeming qualities on it whatsoever.
So
I've tried.
I'll chime in real quick because yes, Jackson, there are some moments I remember. I've only seen both of them once in theater. Okay. I saw both in theaters, even though I hated the first one. Okay. I did go back to the theater for the second one. I agree with you, Gaius. Seeing the first one in theaters truly felt like I was punched. I was like, what the fuck? I don't even know if I'm allowed to curse. Sorry, I'm cursing a lot.
Yeah, you are.
This movie gets me heated up. I remember I was in college at the time, and I even brought it up in my screenwriting class, and I was like, I just need to talk about how absolute trash this movie is. And I felt so dumb because my screenwriting teacher, she was like, well, it's a remake of Halloween. Did you expect it was going to be good? And I was like, honestly, yeah, because why would you remake it if it's not going to be good? I was so torn up about it. But yes, there are good moments. I think it's Dee Wallace. She plays Laurie's mom, if I believe her adoptive mom. And I was scared with that scene where Michael's there and he's
comes out of nowhere, dude.
That was intense. So there are some good moments. I do love the ending. I think Laurie shoots Michael on the head and his blood's all over and she's just screaming. It just cuts to black. So like there are good moments. I actually kind of liked 2. And again, I've only seen it once. I thought it was going in a new direction with like the weird hallucinations. I was like, okay, this is actually like something a little different. But my biggest pet peeve, right? Yeah, I was like, and with the white horse again. Don't need to see his wife in every goddamn scene, but okay.
Yeah.
But my biggest issue is Halloween 1, what makes the beginning when he kills his sister, his older sister, Judith, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When he kills her, what is so scary is when we reveal it's the little boy and that his parents came back from dinner and they look very nice and they're very like upscale. Why now are we doing this trailer? Like the trailer trash thing was so obvious to me. I'm like, it's scary.
Right. It's all he knows though. That's all Rob Zombie knows.
And I'm like, A, that's not what was originally intended. And B, it is so much scarier for the family to actually be so normal and like so upper class. Mm-hmm. And that to me is way more interesting than to have this like monster as a son rather than this everyone's like yelling at each other and like beating each other up. I'm like, okay.
Just to comment on that, I'm just thinking about this now. I think we could be at risk of having like hating Rob Zombies even more if he decided to take like a Gus Van Sant Psycho direct remake approach. You know
direct
why
remake?
the fuck did we get this? Instead, he kind of like experimented. Psycho, I haven't seen, but I Jackson.
I mean, the original is great, but as an experiment, if you like watch it as an experiment, it's like in a museum, and you're just like, oh wow, it kind of. I don't know. It's the exact same movie, so I mean, it's kind of good.
If you were in college and someone made that like their short film, you'd be like, "That's cool," I guess. But not Gus Van Sant.
Yeah, it's so weird that even happened.
This is why.
Although Viggo Mortensen naked, I mean, like the cast.
Wait, what?
Good, so, I mean,
he's in.
Oh yeah,
he's in that.
Well,
there are a lot of good people in that. There are a lot of good people. Julianne Moore's in it. There's so many good people in that movie.
Be surprised that he assembled a good cast, but I just
Vince Vaughn. Actually was very good as
this is after Good Will Hunting, so he could have assembled a really good cast. Like he fooled them. He fooled them all. William H. Macy isn't it? Like there's some. I
honestly feel like that movie is less of a remake, and it's just like this weird Gus Van Sant experiment. Like you can't look at it as a remake.
He was bored.
It's just this like it's like an. It's just
that's kind of how I look at Rob's a little bit. It's like I like that he experimented, even if not everything turned out fantastic. He took something that he clearly liked and was inspired by, maybe even though it doesn't show like that he is, and it just feels like something in like this side little like Mandela effect universe where it kind of spilled out into our universe that he even attacked that property. And I kind of think
the only reason he agreed to even do 2 because he was like, I need to do my own thing. I don't want it, this is my movie, and they were like, all right. So that's why Halloween 2, Halloween 2 is like all over the place.
Farther,
farther away from it. I will say one of my favorite shots from the franchise is in his remake. It's after he gets Laurie out of the house after he's chased her, and he's just walking down the street like holding her, like carrying her, and it has like the like Halloween theme kind of faintly playing in the background. Like I like little isolated moments like that in the movie. I mean, man, Jackson, the fact that the original house, like the fact that I could even like even a little bit. Consider if you would have saw me in 2007, because I was like, "Fuck this."
There's so much imagery from the There's so much imagery from the Rob Zombie movies that just is so on point and looks amazing.
That's
like that's the aesthetics are so good.
It's just gritty and fucking violent looking and dark and. I can't help but feel like it would be, as somebody that I can't really comment on what it would have been like the climate of the Halloween series at the time. I'm 9 when that movie comes out and have no idea about like the legacy of that series. But I feel like we had so many Halloween movies that were all in the same like canon. At that point, I would have thought that maybe it would be the freshness would have been like appreciated, but clearly not. And I you
know what? I think the idea of it was appreciated. I mean, I didn't think they should have remade it, but this is post like Texas Chainsaw they remade Texas Chainsaw Massacre and that worked, and they were like, all right, well, again. People like that. So then they started remaking everything like Hills Have Eyes and like all that stuff.
I love that one.
That's
a good remake.
So I think people thought because this was after Resurrection, that was it. They remade it. So I mean, what else were they going to do? I guess at that point. So I just didn't. But I'm coming at it from a different place. It's my favorite movie, so I was like, don't touch it.
Exactly.
like leave it alone. I
agree.
Leave it alone.
Yeah.
And then of all people to touch it, I was like, oh no, he's gonna no. Like
so,
and then
weird.
And then my worst fears were confirmed when I saw it. Oh man. I make fun of angry fanboys, and like I remember coming out of that movie with like 4 of my friends, and they actually liked it because they loved how violent it was. They were like you, Jackson, and they're like, bro, You didn't like anything? I was like, fuck that movie. Fuck that movie. Fucking sucks. I was so angry.
Oh my
if I had
God.
a message board, if I had some kind of website, I would have been like all over it. Yeah. But I didn't then. So probably for the
Jackson,
best.
It makes a lot of sense why H20 doesn't really stick with you, because like it is so not violent. It looks so literally shiny.
Is this
it's
making sense?
It's so polished. It came out. It came out.
And that's why I love it. It's like these aren't even real people. I'm just watching like AI. Like everything is, and it's just so like it's just so slick and cool. Which that was targeted right to me. The early. You know what I mean? So like
yes.
Yeah, I loved the slick, like sparkly, like it just was so cool back then,
It is very clean. I didn't realize that like until watching it for this. It is a clean movie. There's nothing gritty about it whatsoever. Like it's very like bing. That's the kind of noise that kind of comes off the movie a little bit.
Like a Mr. Clean commercial.
Yeah. But that does make. I kind of had a feeling Jackson wouldn't love it. Like
Okay,
even though he loves the original,
yes,
he loves the original Halloween. I'm like, I thought maybe like the whole like bringing her back thing, but I mean, it would kind of be interesting to watch this having seen 2018 first, and then going in to watch.
This is what I'm dealing with.
Which,
it's also hard to remove that and separate this canonically. It's hard for me to get over that too. That this technically didn't happen from the 2018 perspective, and having seen those multiple times, just kind of messes with my interpretation of this movie. So I'm very much not an ideal candidate for viewing this movie for the first time. So you know what I'm saying?
By the way, does anyone does anyone know where Jamie Lee Curtis, because like she had the same kind of idea for this one, right? She was like, oh, let's examine her trauma and all this stuff, and like that's what she wanted to do. And then she did when she did interviews for all three of David Gordon Green's, that was like all she would talk about is how this was like an examination of her trauma. Like I know when she did H2O, she talked highly of it. I don't know how she feels about it now, or if she's just like, no, like the 2018 on, that's my grind, and that's it.
I remember there was an interview, I think when she was promoting 2018, saying, the trauma and like all that, and like people were like, well, that's kind of what H20 definitely shows, and she had said like, but that was a bad movie, this is a better movie. So she's sort of like, it's interesting because she was praising it at the time, but then she was shitting on it years later. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Also, if she might have just been like tainted by her Halloween Resurrection experience.
Stuff,
so she might just view those two movies as one, and those were the Weinsteins, and so yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Recency bias.
That makes
at
sense.
the time it came out makes sense. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what are some of your final thoughts on this little movie? Well, we know that Mark loves it because it's clean, it's polished, everyone's pretty.
I think it's great, guys. I think it's great. It's one of those movies, and I'm sure it's also nostalgia, but like replaying it today, it was so hard to turn it off to go back to work because I'm like, oh, this is a warm blanket. I know we were talking about the score, and it's a little, but like, I don't know, it works for me. It's a great thrill ride. I love that we escape Haddonfield, and it's kind of a whole new adventure. Yeah, I think it works. It's nice to see Janet Leigh and like the little
was dope.
to Psycho.
Yeah. Oh, and the car, and her psycho car was in it too. That was
cool.
Cool.
And just the nods to the original film. Someone, her boyfriend even says like, "Oh, well, it's Halloween. We're all entitled to one good scare," much like Sheriff Brackett says in the first one. So
the fate conversation in the classroom was a nod. That was awesome.
God, yes, when Michelle looks out the window, much like so. I mean, there are great nods, and they all work for me. So I have such a soft spot for this. I think it's great.
Mark, this is this movie is what Alien Covenant is to me, hearing you talk about it. I love that because I can tell how passionate you are about it, and I'm an Alien Covenant defender. So
I love interesting because not many people are. I thought it was
fine,
but okay, cool.
A conversation for another day.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Wes.
I like H2O. I think one of the best things about Halloween for a Halloween fan is you can really choose which timeline you want to go with.
Choose your own adventure.
4, 5, and 6 one day. It's a choose your own adventure horror series, and that's what's really great about it.
I like that.
I think H2O works in the canon, and I think it has its flaws. It is very 1998. It's the screamification and the Dawson's Creekification of Halloween, and it works. And it also, some people probably don't like that, but I like it. I think it's really great. I think it's fun. there's a lot of nostalgia for it. I think it's a really fun entry in the series.
Yeah. It's not a hate for me. I definitely didn't hate my life watching it. It just didn't, some things didn't work. And I get it's a product of its time and of the series at the time, something that I, just by nature of being born the year it came out, I never was going to be able to enjoy it the way that it was meant to be. And so that's why I, shouldn't take my opinion too seriously, but there are things to enjoy about it. And overall, it'd be one that I'd watch. I think it works great as a trilogy, like retconning the ones in between. There goes Gaius again, in between 2 and this one, which was the 7th, right? So yeah, I would like to actually do tackle this series in the future as a choose your own adventure and do 1 and go right to 2018, which I've done, and then watch 1, 2, and then this 7. One, which is the 7, and whatever ones in between you can watch as well.
I wrote out a whole map. I'll send it to you.
Would you send, please? That would be very valuable.
When I had a marathon party before 2018 came out. The weekend before, we watched 1, 2, 7, and the beginning of 8 to see Jamie Lee Curtis die. So I'll send you. I took a picture of the map and all these arrows and how 3 is over in the corner and yeah. I agree. Fantastic. It's crazy how this franchise has retconned so many times, but each journey is pretty fun until then. There's a moment when you're like, all right, too far,
Right. Also, what's interesting is it wasn't until today that I realized that this had retconned I thought the 2018 was the first retcon of this series. God, so I was like, oh, okay.
Oh yeah, there's 3 was a retcon because it was a whole new Michael Myers.
Okay, I guess
story.
I understood that part. Yeah,
and then 4 was bringing back to Michael Myers, but losing Jamie Lee Curtis, and then 7, and then 2018. So yeah.
And then even Halloween,
Rob Zombie's ones. So
right.
Would that make the Halloween series like the first major franchise to like retcon a whole full movies from there?
Honestly, it might.
As far as I understand, I can't think of any earlier examples.
There aren't super popular ones that we can think of that retcon so much away.
Maybe they're right there, but
yeah.
And like nowadays, it's almost becoming normal. Like the new Exorcist series is going to retcon.
It's a David Gordon Green thing that he's normalizing, which is a conversation too that we could keep going into about. But I really hope so. Just now that you mentioned that, the cat's out of the bag here. But the fact that, did you hear that they're already like planning 2 and 3, like 2 sequels to his Exorcist?
Yeah, it's like I think we're contracted for a trilogy, like
Let the first one.
It's David Gordon Green and it's Blumhouse, so I mean that's just now their thing to I'm worried about
I'm
Exorcist.
very worried.
Yeah, because I didn't love David Gordon Green's trilogy. Good moments for sure, but such strange mix of serious violent horror and then like laugh out loud comedy that was not the same as like a Scream or something else. So I need to watch the Exorcist sequels. I haven't seen many of them. I've seen the first one many times.
This year I need to see Paul Schrader's.
No, Mark, watch The Exorcist 2, and then I just want to hear your thoughts after you watch it.
Okay, I'll let you know.
The third one's good. The third one's pretty good.
I hear is good.
Schrader's is Dominion, right? That from
I saw like Dominion in theaters, and it was boring. And
I picked that up at a fair or a market once because somebody said of the Exorcist sequels that would be one to watch. Kind of like how people say this about H20. So I have it, but haven't seen it. But I assumed if Paul Schrader did it, it would be worth watching. But I'd like to temper my expectations now.
Yeah, I mean, from what I remember, meh. But I'm not as precious with The Exorcist, so whatever.
It's not your franchise.
Yeah, I mean, I mean that original. I know it turns 50 this year, so I'll be talking about it on my show. Like that original, yes, but whatever. But I just hope the new ones are good, or else it's like, why are we doing
from the trailer? To me, it just seems like a cookie cutter exorcism movie. But again, this is the first trailer. I got to give benefit of the doubt.
Yeah,
but I guess I'm not impressed yet.
And now, and now that he's passed away, like all eyes are going to be on that movie.
Oh
now, I think. In a very different way, where they're like, all right, live up to it.
I can already see the reviews and like the journalists saying like, even if this movie does turn out to be abysmal, like good thing William Friedkin wasn't alive to see this abomination. I already see the headlines.
That was my first thought when Friedkin died. As sad as that is, was like, if this next movie flops, that's all anybody's going to be saying is, well, lucky Friedkin died.
Yep. It's like he couldn't stick around to see it happen to his baby, and I hope that's not what happens. But oh well.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. In retrospect, like John Carpenter has watched his baby morph over time into a lot of different things, and you know he and up until the David Gordon Green trilogy, he didn't really want to be involved at all post Halloween 2. He didn't really, you know, he was you know, he made money from it and he was happy making some money from it, but you know, his interest in it kind of died after that first one because he was like he didn't even want to make Halloween 2. It was just a money grab from.
He's not much of a franchise
the first one made
guy.
So much money.
So I am not surprised.
No, he's not.
He's only ever done one sequel, hasn't he? With Escape to New York?
Escape to
LA, yeah.
And I guess that might be it, yeah.
So I guess I'm not surprised.
He reshot some of Halloween 2 to add violence to it because you know it was the early 80s and Friday the 13th had already come out, so they were like, we need more blood and stuff.
So wait, Jackson, you haven't seen Halloween 2, the original Halloween 2?
That's correct. Did he direct Halloween 2?
Part of it.
He wrote it.
Only the part.
He wrote it. Okay. He was definitely involved.
He wrote it, and yeah.
No, I've not seen it.
Oh,
yeah, so probably the year that I see it.
Check it out.
And that's so funny too because there's certain shots in Halloween 2 and H2O, like the way that Will dies is like a direct nod to how one of the nurses dies in Halloween 2. And I think you'll enjoy it as like a standard like slasher movie sequel.
It's
not
very
like,
80s. It's like
it's very 80s. yeah. If you think H2O is a product of its time, then so is
okay. Well, I happen to really like the 80s, so I'm hoping it's a side that I like.
Laurie's boyfriend, the guidance counselor or whatever, in H20 dies in a very similar way as someone in H2 in Halloween 2.
Okay.
One of the best kills.
Which is like,
it's
you know,
so
that first time was like, whoa, you know, a shoe drops. So yeah.
Is it gorier at all than the original?
It's definitely bloodier and more violent.
Yeah.
Because you know, H20 is very similar to the first one because there wasn't really many deaths. Like the first movie is what I think like three or four people died.
Three people.
Right. 3. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So 2 ups the ante for sure. You'll see. It's great.
I can't wait.
Yeah. You'll get what you want: a higher body count, less character development, but a higher body count.
Okay, that I can work with.
Yeah.
Is it 81 or 82?
Well,
81.
81. Yeah.
Jamie Lee Curtis is in a terrible wig.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, because she had cut her hair for a movie. Oh, it's so bad. And she doesn't really do much. She's like in bed most of the movie. It's pretty
kind of similar to Halloween Kills, but she at least has some cool hallway chases that I love. Oh my god, I love. So yeah,
you're right. Well, thank you guys for joining us for the Halloween H2O discussion, and thank you for keeping it going when Firefox was like, "Fuck you, guys! Like, get off of his feed."
It tried to kill you, but you just keep coming back, like Michael.
Make me like Mike.
Can't get rid. Well, but yeah, as always, Mark, thank you for coming on and talking.
Thank you.
I mean, like I always know which ones to bring you on for. We're still going to try to work out Freddy versus Jason, which should be a fun one.
Let me know if you can't. You know, it's quite a movie, so maybe I can always make a recording or something real quick if you want.
Oh yeah, we guys will do that too.
We'll make it work.
Yeah,
we'll make it work. Yeah, there's some funny stuff in there we need to talk about. That'll be really fun. And then Wes, thank you for coming on for the first time, and then you're more than welcome to ever come back if you see any topic of interest, because we're gonna keep putting anniversary and episode ideas on TikTok and Reels and everywhere to kind of get more people on. So thank you for joining us. It was a lot of fun having you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. If you need a fourth person for Freddy versus Jason, I love that movie too.
There you go. Are you like a horror guy? Are you a big horror movie?
Yeah,
person?
I love horror. Like I would show you my bookshelf, but this background thing is I can't get rid of it. But I have horror movies all over all of them, tons of them.
Nice.
Love them.
Fantastic.
But
nice.
All right,
great genre.
All right,
great to tackle that crossover. I'm excited.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna probably use you. We're doing a lot of spooky season stuff on the podcast.
That'll be great to have you guys both on.
Awesome.
Yeah, a lot of fun Halloween stuff. All right, Jackson, sign us on.
All right. Well, that wraps up episode 115 of Back to the Blockbuster. Very special thanks to our guests today, Mark J. Parker and Wes. Thanks a lot for joining us, guys. This has been quite the discussion when I didn't really know what we get up to, but I'm happy we got through it. First time watch. It was a pleasure. I'm really looking forward to discussing some other horror movies. This, I guess, may as well be the kickoff to spooky season, or it's right around the corner. So yeah, stay tuned to the socials, guys, as we will have some other anniversary picks for you guys to choose from as we're getting closer and closer to that time of the year, which will be big for the podcast. Stay tuned and check us out on Playlist's new app. You can find us at Back to the Blockbuster, anywhere you guys get your podcasts and anywhere you guys are on social media. Come find us, and special thanks again, guys, for joining us. It's been a blast, and you guys take care, and we'll see you next time.